understanding the broadening out of the Harris tax and kind of economic proposal. It's something that she's been hit on a lot, and something that actually both the left and the right have said, when's the policy coming? When's the policy coming? And we keep getting told it's after the, it's really going to come after the convention, but you'll get, bits and pieces of it before. And there are some really scary parts of this policy that have already been announced.
A tax policy that has been floated under the Biden administration, but now we're hearing word that the Harris campaign endorses this plan. And what this is that, one, there would be a 44.6 capital gains tax. So that's after an asset is sold, like stock or a home, that isn't, the money's not reinvested into another home within that 5-year period. There's a 44.6 capital gains tax. But there's another layer to this, an unrealized gains tax, and they're saying it only applies to the ultra wealthy at this point. We'll talk with Harry about it. But this would be 25% tax each year on unrealized gains. So if the stock market went up, they would hit you with a 25% on what the market value of your assets are. That's not money you have. That's on paper value.
This issue of taxing unrealized gains. Let's just walk people through what that would mean.
Left-wing tax lunacy is now in the air. And so it is open season on ridiculous tax proposals, which does not necessarily mean they wouldn't pass if Kamala Harris becomes president of the United States. So she's not content with supporting policies that Joe Biden has supported in the past. And so she's quite willing to support policies that are even worse. And the policy initiative that she has basically settled on is to tax so-called unrealized capital gains. Keep in mind, this is in addition to raising the capital gains tax on realized income. And so this particular proposal has already been tried in Norway. What has it done to the country of Norway? Well, it's driven wealthy individuals out of the country. Norway is a country of about 5.3 million individuals. The United States is roughly 61 times larger than Norway in terms of population. And so if her proposal were to pass in the United States, we should expect to lose 1,800 millionaires and billionaires. Why should the American people care about that? Even if the proposal is limited to millionaires and billionaires, those individuals will take their capital with them to other markets, and they will drive down employment in the United States. Keep in mind, the Biden administration has already revised downward job numbers with respect to the last 12 months by almost 1 million employees. So this will hurt average working class Americans. But keep in mind that the Democrats have a voracious tax appetite. And so if they enact this policy initially to go after millionaires and billionaires, more likely than not, they will expand it to homeowners. So if you own a house in Nashville or in some of the growing markets in the world, in the United States, you will find that you will have to pay taxes on unrealized gains in the home that you are still living in, because the value of the house might rise by $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year, and then you need to write a check to the United States government. Yeah. So this is a ridiculous policy which will likely crush the economy, and as one commentator points out, it may lead to a Great Depression.
Think about that. Leading to a Great Depression. But I mean, I'll use my own home as an example here before just to move. And so when we moved to Nashville's a growing city. Prices were going up very quickly. We purchased a home, and when we sold that home to move into the next home, it had doubled. So what would I have been taxed if this was in place over those 5 years? That home doubled in value. It didn't go up just like $10,000 or $15,000 a year. It doubled in value.
you would have paid a tax of 25% on an annualized basis. So if you sit down and you calculate what your tax liability would be, it might prevent you from purchasing your next house. Right. And so on one hand, Kamala Harris wants to basically give a boost to the housing market, which has been somewhat depressed. Right. But on the other hand, she wants to impose an unrealized capital gains tax, potentially on homeowners, which would crush the housing market even more.
If you're Donald Trump and okay, you got really one opportunity right now to be on the stage, so that's it. That's scheduled, which is one debate. If you're going to get into the weeds on any policy, and neither one of them love that, I would say. And now listen, I think Donald Trump understands economic policy a lot better. But if you're going to get into the weeds on policy or push on policy, this seems to be the one that would. This and the price controls are those two issues I think right there on economics that could really scare voters away if you have enough time, and the debate moderators allow you to really push her into the weeds on it.
76% of independent voters oppose this particular tax. 76% of independent voters. And so if you think about who decides the next election, it's largely independent voters. So one of the things that I would urge Donald Trump to do is to study up on unrealized capital gains taxes. Ask the American people, are they prepared to pay taxes, for instance, on their 401k? Are they willing to pay taxes on their IRA, on income they have never received and potentially will never receive? Nonetheless, they will still have to pay taxes on it.
Okay, so 1 year it goes up. What about the next year it goes down? When does this tax actually? Would you pay this tax yearly, annually, right?
Annually.
So just because you had a good year, and so your value went up, but let's say that the next year your value went down, you're not going to get a reimbursement, are you?
No, and that's why this is a brilliant proposal for individuals that support tax and spending ideas, such as the Green New Deal, which most Americans have opposed. Nonetheless, Kamala Harris in 2019 strongly supported the Green New Deal, which would cost between $52 trillion to $93 trillion.
When we say it's dangerous, when we say it is scary to every American, it is, because you see how this again, and they'll try to explain this, say, this is only going to apply to rich people, and that's how taxes always start in America. Now, what they define as rich can be very broad, but I will tell you, a lot of retirees, you will fall into that category. And then when they've got through with that money and they want to fund other plans, what do? They keep expanding it if you let these programs get a foothold at all. So when we say we're just learning about Kamala Harris's policies, the ones we're hearing about so far, domestic economic policies, are scary enough.